Hey there, and welcome back to another Miraculous Season 2 retrospective review, where I go through old episodes of Miraculous Ladybug I never made reviews for and give my thoughts. Season 2's been a veritable treasure trove of interesting and classic episodes. Very few misses so far, and we're seeing the introduction of so many of the show's most iconic villains. Today we arrive at the episode Froza, which I only really vaguely remember because it's the episode where they use the ice power-ups. Do they ever actually use it again after this episode, or is it just a one and done sort of thing? I guess we'll have to find out. So there's nothing else for it but to jump into the episode. Let's go. We start off the episode witnessing a rescue of a random paraglider from meeting a pretty grim fate of crashing into a building or simply onto the road and likely being killed. Good thing the heroes were there. Usually, when they're both transformed, there would have been an akumatized villain, so a little bit of a plot contrivance, but that's okay. I mean, why would they both be here to begin with? And why would Cat and Y have needed to use Cataclysm and thus have his power on the timer? Unless they just beat a villain and the guy just happened to be losing control of his paraglider at the right place, right time. Talk about lucky in that case. Cat Noir steals a rose from this dude's bouquet, and then he gets on his knees and starts professing his love to Ladybug, and even has his timer wear off to reveal who he is. I can't recall my own initial thoughts back when the episode first released, but I'm sure that people were very briefly freaking out, only for the reveal that he's daydreaming. Ladybug then shoots his ass down and tells him to settle because she's not accepting that rose. After all, she told him way back in Glaciator that she's interested in somebody else. Really, this is just one in a long line of Cat Noir not learning his lesson and harassing the girl he's supposedly in love with to give him a chance. It's pretty icky, but I guess we're supposed to be on his side because 1, we know who they actually are, and 2, they introduced the most iconic and melancholy piece of music in the show's history in this scene, The Last Dance, aka Cat Noir's Broken Heart. That song goes so hard and is clearly meant to make you feel sorry for him. God damn, it is such an amazing tune now that I'm thinking about it. Well, nothing else for it, time to go listen to the 10-hour loop. He of course doesn't take the rejection well, even though any old idiot probably should have seen this one coming, and so he heads over to his fencing lesson moping heavily. He pairs up with Kagami for class and she whoops his ass, although I feel like she was using illegal moves. Granted, I've only ever seen fencing when it's at the Olympics, but she straight up knocks him over in the final panel. Feels like that would be against the rules, right? When he heads back to the locker room, he's just there moping with his rose until Kagami comes in and tries to suss out what's wrong with him. He opens up about how he feels stuck and that no matter what he does, nothing seems to change. She clues in that he's having romance troubles, and so she tells him that maybe instead of trying the same thing again and again, he should perhaps change targets. Hint hint, wink wink, nudge nudge. Clearly trying to suggest that he should hit her up instead. He gives her the rose because she's helped cheer him up, and it seems that perhaps he is going to give it a chance. Yeah, he says that he still only loves Ladybug, but at least he's open to the idea that he can maybe move on. That being said, the dude is also clearly lacking in confidence because he seems to think that the reason Ladybug doesn't like him is because of something he's doing. His technique, as he puts it. Poor Fal has no self-esteem. I blame Gabe for this. He then tries to get love advice. Plag tells him about the finer arts of romancing cheese, which isn't exactly what Adrian was looking for, but he also attempts to ask Gorilla, Natalie, and even Gabe with zero success. We jump forward to the next day at school where Adrian sees all the different couples in his class, Mark and Nathaniel, Ivan and Milan, Alia and Nino, and then Rose and Julika. I kind of thought they only had lightly hinted at Mark and Nathaniel and Rose and Julika in the early days, but looking back, it was very obvious what they were intending to be. I can't believe there were people that were actually in denial. After all, this scene makes it clear that Adrian thinks they are, and he's the most socially isolated person in the whole school. Marinette crashes into him and he helps her up and asks her for advice. They sit down, he starts to talk about his feelings and how he's friends with this girl who he's starting to see differently. He asks if she's ever had the same thing happen to her, and she begins to think, oh, here we go. He describes Marinette's features exactly, only to reveal that he's talking about Kagami, not Marinette. Ouch. She has a little bit of an internal crisis and can't resist throwing a little bit of shade calling her the Ice Queen. She covers up her slip though by suggesting that he takes her on a date to the ice rink, and since he's too shy to go alone, Marinette volunteers to go with him because she is an absolute glutton for punishment. Also, I gotta say that this early version of Adrian, where he's all shy and nervous, is the best version of his character and his romantic adventures. It's much better than when he engages in full creeper mode as Cat Noir, that's for sure. Then it's over to Marinette, where she meets with all her friends who call her a fool for this. Rightly so. They try to think of excuses for her to pull out of the get-together, and in the end it all descends into bickering. I do enjoy that in this episode the girls are just such good friends to her. They even buy into the delusion that Adrian's actually secretly in love with her, and that's currently something between them. Whilst they argue, she sneaks out and runs into local hippie Luca, who is once again playing songs that he thinks reflect her heart and emotions, whilst also being a little bit flirty. Having seen the latest episode of Season 6 where he reveals that he went to Brazil because he's in love with Marinette and doesn't want to become bitter and ruin their friendship, I can't help but view all of their interactions through a much sadder lens. Run, bro, run! It's gonna end in tears! She gets the idea that she should invite him to the ice rink too, so that she's not going to be a third wheel to her crush's date with another girl, and off we go. We have yet another time skip to the next day, and so we've had 3 separate days worth of episode here. Is that one of the longest stretches of time ever covered by a single episode? Adrian heads off to meet Kagami after telling his dad that he's going to have a fencing lesson with her, and sneaky Adrian, being a bit rebellious for a change. And Gorilla hiding it from Gabe? Even better. God, I love how much he cares about Adrian. Imagine being such a shit dad that your 2 paid staff members are closer to your own son than you are. Yikes. We then head over to the ice rink, and of course the mayor's there, ready to shut the rink down so he can build an indoor gym for Chloe. And first up, what? Doesn't he own a luxury hotel? Did he seriously not have a gym there for her? Secondly, in real life, surely this place would have a lot of people coming to skate, right? How could it possibly be on the brink of shutting down? I feel like there probably aren't a huge number of indoor ice rinks, and so in a big city like Paris, especially right in the CBD where everything seems to happen, this type of rink would get a lot of business, wouldn't it? How could it be possible to not have a single student? It's got to be something about the guy, so I can suddenly see why the mayor's destroying it, right? After all, if nobody uses it, and yet the city's paying for it, then it's got to go. It's just waste by that point. I know that they're painting the mayor as the bad guy here, but it's the truth. Nobody wants their taxes paid to something worthless. Also, imagine skating around and doing poses as you're being shut down. He deserves this for that alone. The mayor is even kind of merciful. Once they see the 4 kids enter the rink, he says that if this guy can get even just one of them to sign up for lessons, one person in the whole of Paris, then he'll pause the plans to convert it to a gym. That feels overly reasonable and compassionate to me. Then the date begins, and Adrian tries to get some advice from Marinette about how to treat Kagami and whether he should hold her hand, etc. I did love how immediately Marinette was telling him that he needs to let her fall down. I mean, she tries to walk that back, but the shade she has for Kagami in these early days was always so funny to see. Also, Kagami feels so different too. In the modern show, she really does become this quirky, socially awkward character. In this episode, though, she's so in control and worldly. Not naive or awkward at all. Very competitive. I don't know what I prefer, really. Both sides of the character work, although her friendship with Marinette, where she's revealed to be this massively awkward character, is so much fun. So I think I prefer late-stage Kagami once they find their feet with how they want it to be portrayed. So the pairs begin to skate, and slowly but surely we see Marinette vibing with Luca, who is a very good skater, by the way. He's going backwards, he's posing, doing moves, and all the while keeping Marinette steady. Philippe tries to get Luca to sign up for lessons since he's so talented, but no dice. Luca's life is too filled up with music, and now he wants to write a song about Marinette. Oof, how suave. When Kagami shows off her own skills to Adrian when he mentioned that he invited Marinette to help him perfect his figure skating skills, he makes his way over there too, only to face yet another rejection. It's not a good day for Philippe. Luca then pulls out even more tricks, lifting Marinette above his head without her helping with the lift, and without her expecting it. Dude is strong. Seriously, these are some god-tier romancing skills he's putting out here. I gotta say, considering he actually manages to get Marinette to want to pursue him romantically at some point, it does show that his character is something special. Meanwhile, I feel that Adrian's never really drawn to Kagami quite in the same way. At least not to that same level. Philippe returns, begging Marinette to sign up for lessons, and it's just getting sad at this point, harassing teenagers on a date to try to salvage your dying rink. Having 0 students shows a failure in this guy's business sense. There's no real excuses. He must either be a bad teacher or a creep or be truly terrible at advertising that there's a rink that offers lessons. Any of these is enough to shut his ass down. Marinette, despite having Luca going all out to try to impress her, seemingly can't get over Adrian being on a date with Kagami, and so she crashes into a wall. Luca and Adrian try to help her up, only to be once again distracted by Philippe, who seemingly has no care at all about somebody being injured in his rink and continues to try to get them to sign up. He openly makes it clear that he wants to leverage Adrian's fame to his advantage to get his fans to come and do lessons once they see that Adrian's having them too. Screw this guy! Also, we get another example of early episode weirdness when it feels that Kagami is talking shit to Marinette about taking what she wants with no hesitation. It feels like she doesn't act like this later on. Marinette then goes off injured. Well, she says she's injured, but it's more like she has injured pride, I think. Adrian does go after her though, so that's something. Meanwhile, Philippe's just depressed because his career's going down the toilet, and so he makes perfect fodder to be akumatized. Marinette hides in the bathroom and ruminates on whether she could have had something with Luca, or whether it's destined to crash and burn like her love for Adrian. Meanwhile, Adrian knocks on the door to check on her, and Plagg questions what his deal even is. First, he's in love with Ladybug. Then he goes on a date with Kagami, and now he's ditching to go after Marinette? Does come across as a little bit confusing. Here is where we get an all-timer of a line for perhaps the first time. And if not, it's one of the first times. It's the, no, she's just a very good friend. The fandom sure got a lot of mileage memeing out that one, that's for sure. Philippe gets akumatized and turned into Froza, who freezes the whole complex. Adrian runs away whilst Marinette powers Tiki up into ice form and then transforms into her ice skating suit. I tell you what, the early attempts at the specialist suits were so trash. For the underwater suits, the first go around was just their suits with flippers, and now for the ice suit, it's a cheap store brand princess pageant costume. No thanks. I get that the budget was lower back then, but surely they could have done better than this for Ladybug. That being said, whilst Ladybug's suit's ugly, Cat Noir's is just lazy. It's pretty much just his classic suit with some highlights and a pattern. Nah, no good. Froza proves that he's one of the most dangerous villains they've faced yet, taking down pretty much all of Paris in an instant and freezing it solid. Realistically, he's just killed everybody in the city, meaning that this is probably the biggest kill count for any villain outside of Cat Blanc, who blew up the moon and brought about the apocalypse, and Felix, who went full crazy and killed everybody he could using the Blood Moon. The heroes link up, and this is where Cat Noir just loses me. She was being very kind about everything, and he's just being a massive nice guy, being all upset that she didn't reciprocate and return his feelings. Dude needs to pull his head in, because this type of behavior is gross. He goes so far as to not want to work together when Froza has already frozen everybody in Paris. Off they both go in search of the villain, and for some reason, the narrative decides to reward Cat Noir for being lame by ensuring that by going off on his own, he was in the right spot to save Ladybug from an ambush by Froza. That was certainly a writing choice. They have a really long action/chase sequence here where they battle Froza, which would be awesome, but the problem is this blue background everywhere is so ugly. This episode for me, visually, is not aged very well at all. I can see what they were going for with it, but the technology just wasn't there for it, and so it comes across really bland. They use a lucky charm to get a bag of salt, which in turn lets them melt some ice to set a trap. I know that some of their plans and schemes can sometimes come across as such BS, but this one was actually pretty clever. They trick him into chasing Marinette and skating over a ladder, which they then flip, causing him to spin out and allowing Cat Noir to break the skates. They get the Akuma and reverse everything. Adrien takes a selfie with Philippe to be nice, and it obviously attracts a horde of fans ready to sign up to be just like Adrien. Adrien lets Kagami down gently, telling her that he's not giving up on his original target, but of course, she thinks he means Marinette. Meanwhile, he simply means Ladybug. At the same time, Luke is making his moves, but then encourages Marinette to go and talk to Adrien instead when he sees what's up. What a Chad this boy is. Seriously, what the hell? Dude's perfect. Marinette chases down Adrien's car and then confesses her love. Even though I know the score, and I know that this doesn't happen yet, I somehow got swept up in it and I bought into this scene. The fake out actually fooled me. Oh, I love it. It just took me by surprise because I was expecting her to fumble, and so for it to be a daydream came out of nowhere. They even did it at the start of the episode, I should have known! Yeah, so she crashes and burns, and she almost gets a date and instead sets up a group hangout. Oh, baby steps. Man, this episode was just a lot of fun. A lot of cute moments, a lot of funny jokes, just top tier. Dog ugly when it came to the Ice City though, no thanks. It was bland, and then the glistening made everything look so blurry. I really hope they never make a villain like this again. So with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of Froza? Did you like it? Hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.